In this part of the video, we will be studying about the action potential in the neurons. So in nerves, first of all, the signals are sent by the action potential. And these are very rapid changes happening in the nerve fibers. And further, they are spread along the membrane. And this happens in within a millifraction of seconds. And there are three steps for this, or the three stages. That is, first, first we have the resting stage. The second, we have the depolarization stage. And third is the repolarization. These happens within millifraction of second. So the first stage is the resting stage. In the resting stage, the potential inside is minus 70 millivolts. That is why it is called as the polarized state. It is the stage where before the action potential have started taking place. And inside there will be negativity as there is minus 70 millivolts. The next is the depolarization state. Here there will be suddenly influx of the sodium, that is increase of sodium ions into the cell by the diffusion of sodium ions because the sodium channels have opened. These are the voltage gated channels. In a larger nerve cells, there will be increase up to the zero level. That means minus 70 millivolt will go up to the level of zero and even higher also. And in some cases, like in smaller cells, they will reach up or approach up till the zero. So here, because of the depolarization, the sodium has come in and the state has been changed from negative to positive. The next is the repolarization stage. In this repolarization stage, first there will be closing or inactivation of the sodium gates, and then there will be opening of the potassium gates. That is, the sodium now cannot enter, and now the potassium will go out of it. Now again, from zero level, it will go back to minus 70 millivolts. So these are the basic steps of the action potential. Now we need to understand there are two types of voltage gated channels. That is, I've already talked about, that is the sodium voltage gated channels and potassium gated channels. Now how are they activated? Now in this picture, first we have the over here we have first sodium, and over here we have for the potassium. In the sodium channels, first there is the activation gate. So inside, first of all, there is resting. That is the resting stage, the RMP stage, where the potential inside is minus 70 and the activation gate is not activated yet. Now once there is depolarization or reaches to the zero level or more, the positive side, the activation gate has now open. Here, because of the selectivity filter, the sodium will come in, and within a fraction of seconds, milliseconds, the sodium channels will close by the inactivation gate. And here, when the inactivation gate is closing, the potential is again coming to depolarized state to the repolarized state. And over here we have for the potassium, that is, there is one gate inside. Potassium will there was potassium more, so then sodium was not coming inside, will not come inside, the potassium will go out. When the sodium cannot come in, the potassium will go out. That is when the repolarization state starts. So over here, first in minus 70, the potassium was not able to go out, and by the slow activation, the gate has opened and the potassium is starting to go out. So this is how the depolarization and repolarization works. So in depolarization and repolarization, we need the sodium voltage gated channels to open and close also. Whereas in repolarization, we need sodium closing and potassium opening so that the potassium can go. And with this, we will also have the sodium potassium pumps and the leaky channels. We will understand how it works. This is the picture of Huxley and Hodgkin. So here is one of the summary in a graph. That is, over here we are seeing the conductance. Conductance means how easily the electricity can pass over there. That is, first I've said the sodium. sodium will come in first earlier, right? Here the sodium is coming in. Over here we have the action potential, and this is the ratio of conductance. Always we see the conductance is always checked in the form of ratio of sodium and potassium. So sodium is first, and below that we have the potassium. Over here, first the sodium will rise, that is the sodium will come in, and when the sodium gates are closed, they will lead to the decrease of sodium ions inside and increase of potassium ions. Here the potassium ions is more. Over here we can see a gap between the sodium and potassium gap because we have the potassium leaky channels. So here in the ratio of conductance, and here's the action potential graph exactly. So in the ratio of conductance, again we can see the sodium has increased. Because the sodium has increased in the first part, they have come, the graph is rising, and once after the action potential has finished, the potassium has risen up, that means the graph is going down. And after that there is again more potassium is going out of it, that means there is a positive after potential, that is the hyperpolarization. This is the hyperpolarization state. And after that, slowly after that, this potassium channel gates will also close. So that is how the action potential is takes place. There are three steps. Again we are doing the three steps: the resting membrane, depolarization, the repolarized stage. That is, in the resting membrane everything was closed, inside there is negativity, that is -70. And after that, in depolarized state, they will go to the zero level, that is where the sodium ions are coming in. And in the repolarized stage, the potassium is going out and the sodium cannot come in. Hence there is decrease in the action potential graph, and within there is a gap between the closing of potassium ions. That is why there is hyperpolarization. There can be other ions involved as well. First we have the negative ions, which includes the proteins, sulfate compounds, and the phosphate compounds. Because of this we have inside the negativity, and they cannot go out. So that is why when there is sodium influx, that is why it is leading to the positivity, or else there is negativity present, that is -70. And the second is the calcium ions. In Instead of sodium, our cells also use the calcium ions, or with sodium calcium ions can also be used. For example, we have in muscle cells, that is the smooth muscle cells, and especially in the cardiac cells. There, even in such smooth muscle cells, there is no sodium ion channels for the sodium pumps. So there is only calcium pumps. That is why the calcium is also important part of the action potential. For the initiation of action potential, we will need to have the positive feedback. The positive feedback of cycle, which opens sodium channels. That is, when all of these gates are open, all the sodium will come in. This will lead to, when all the sodium is coming in, the sodium which has come in is asking other sodium to come in. So that is the positive feedback over here. And within a milliseconds, they all will close. And the second will be when there is action potential to reach, when the action potential has to happen. It will only happen when the threshold potential is reached. It happens when the sodium is coming in and the potassium is not going out. Potassium is, because we already have the leaky channels, that is why the sodium is coming in right now. That is why there is increase in the threshold potential, and hence the action potential takes place. Now, propagation of action potential, meaning here, if one of this point is activated, then the other point will also get activated. It doesn't matter any direction, like it has to happen here, or it has to happen here, it has to happen here, any direction. It can happen in any direction that is away from the stimulus. If it is happening in nerve, we will call the nerve impulse, and if it is happening in the muscle, we will call the muscle impulse. The all or none law states that if the action potential has to happen, that is, it will happen in the direction or all the directions where the stimulus is there, from away from the stimulus. But it will only happen when all the conditions are present, that is sodium or potassium is present, the pump and the voltage gated channels are working. If the conditions is not present, it will not go further. For example, let's say here there is some defect, the action potential will not go further, it will be stopped. And how it will stop? If everything is normal, all the conditions are available, then at some point there will be an insufficient voltage will be there. So hence here will be the stoppage of the action potential. So the ratio we have is the ratio of action potential upon the threshold for excitation. It should be always more than 1. If it is less, then it is not good. So more than 1 is the safety for the propagation, the safety factor of the propagation. So once again, in the propagation of action potential, that is, they will pass along all the nerve fiber, that is in every direction. All or none law states that all the conditions should be present. No problem should be there. And in nerve, it will be called as the nerve impulse. In muscle, it will be called as the muscle impulse. And the ratio should be more than 1. So that's all in this video.